Good afternoon, and what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Tuesday the 20th of August, and I'm in the reading up with a nice cup of tea and a box to continue unboxing. And what I've got here is a copy of The Breach, a science fiction role-playing game published by Need Games. Now, Need Games is best known for publishing the Fabula Ultima, Japanese tabletop role-playing game, which is inspired by computer games such as Final Fantasy VII and others. So, in 1943, the Ministry of Culture and Science of the Enlightened Confederacy initiated an experiment to test Möbius-Higgs theory of space-time flows. However, something went terribly wrong. An explosion occurred in one of the laboratory's particle accelerators, creating a portal between our world and countless other dimensions, known as The Breach. The Breach is an intense sci-fi and horror game set in a dystopian retro future that unfolds at a relentless pace. Drawing inspiration from iconic science fiction novels of the 1970s, this game will transport you through time and space, revealing a multitude of parallel worlds referred to as paradoxes. As a watcher, your role is to gather data and information, delving into these infinite universes in search of hidden secrets, all while attempting to survive and make it back to the Bastion in one piece, if that's even possible. So this automatically sounds a little like, say, Time Tunnel, which is the Irwin Allen science fiction television series. It also sounds a little bit like Stargate, I suppose, and Fringeworthy, the role-playing game from Tritactics, published, 1983, something like that, 82, I think. But it's always interesting to see a different publisher's approach and ideas behind a common subject. So, let's have a look, shall we? We have not got a sheet for the PDF there. There we go. So we've got the dedication page, credits page, and one of those kind of opening documents which sort of sets the scene, adds a bit of verisimilitude, and the fact that you've got content inked out is just adds further to that. Before we get onto the forward, explaining, what the ideas are behind the game, and the acknowledgements, and a quick glossary before we get to the contents. And here we have how to survive, how to play. Essentially, this is almost done as a manual. It's one of the things that sort of like you see, it's been quite common. If you think of things like Mothership, that are sort of printed almost like the game manual for the game, the game world itself. So describe essentially that this is the nature of the game is it's episodic, high pace. Nature of the players are watchers. The game master is the operator, and it uses simple mechanics. It uses all of the dice, and it has an old school play style. So this isn't necessarily an old school Renaissance style game per se, or a retro clone. It's perhaps a best sort of like, it's the other old school Renaissance. It's adjacent. So we have another trend here we're seeing in role-playing games is addressing directly what each person in the game is expected to do. So we've got the watcher's agenda and we've got the operator's agenda. It's essentially the agendas. This is what the players are expected to do. This is what the game master is meant to do. Notes on tone and style, and identifying just some of the dystopian science fiction it's inspired by. There's a very short bibliography. And exploring even further. It's actually, this is done actually by genre type, subgenre type. So there we've got dystopian science fiction, bleak science fiction, and then we move on to post-apocalyptic sci-fi, and then black comedy sci-fi as well. So you're getting the feel of the tone of the game. and then what to do before you start, what you need to play, and so on. So really giving you an idea of what the game feels like before going into how to create a watcher. And instead of stats or attributes, you've got approaches. Well, essentially approaches. How do you approach the problem, essentially? And notes there on style and so on. And equipment like the veil, which protects you against radiation and extreme temperatures and so on. The gauge, essentially, which collects data and the like. And here we have the suits, the gauges, the sort of the cloaks that the player characters will wear, the watchers, and then the weapons they carry. This is disintegrator and the gutter are quite brutal. And once all that's done, you don't fill in a character sheet, you fill in a registration form. And just sort of highlighting sort of like the almost bureaucratic nature of the game. And then we have sort of like the dynamics of paradoxical space-time flows, a study of the breach and the implications for interdimensional travel. So like almost like a briefing piece there. And just various details for sort of basically filling out the last bits of your character. And then we get on to the core system. Basically the idea, that you are introducing a dangerous obstacle, reacting to dangers, and so on, running it in rounds and turns, and there's a reaction roll, and there's another indication of a graphic icon here. That's very TVA. That's very Loki, the Marvel television series. You can see the direct inspiration there. And then dealing with things like consequences and harm and resistance as a result of whatever the player character, the watcher, rolls. The flow there of how the game is meant, the mechanics are meant to proceed. And a discussion of character death. And then the idea of teamwork and so on, and clocks and counters for events with a time limit. Before we move on to combat proper, where they might encounter hostile creatures. And here we have some mission briefings. Essentially, it's a random generator, going into the breach, paradox danger levels faced, and so on. How to explore a paradox, and what you do within a paradox. And again, you've got that warning little icon there, sort of almost a cross between an emote and so on. And you have sort of like a shot like that, which is very almost like, from the film Alien, with that giant alien ship sort of curved over you. And then end mission, what happens when the player characters return from the breach. And this is the detailing of sort of essentially the base of operations, the Bastion, Home Sweet Home, and what the player characters might do there, downtime, advancement, possible activities, which include training, maintenance, research and development, and of course, because it's dangerous out there, recovery. And because you've seen shocks out there, hit the bar. And then talking about what's out there, the unknown, the paradox, and some layouts to explore different paradox kind of iterations, and how to set those up, and what might be encountered in specific areas. So you've got a list of creatures that might be encountered there. And it's probably fairly easy to adapt other creatures to the setting. And essentially, we've got sections on possible dangerous objects to be found there, and how to put it all together. Basically, choose the mission goal, choose or create a layout, and so on. Populate it with creatures and threats. And once you've set it up, you've got advice here on running the game and the conversation framework back and forth between the operator and the watchers. And the operator agenda throughout. This is in addition to the sort of like the earlier advice. We've got some examples here of how it's done. Essentially, how these procedures work in play, which are useful kind of tips and tools for the operator. You know, so things like give the watchers and their players tough choices, use logic, but let yourself be surprised. I think that's a nice addition. How to portray the world, how to create obstacles. Again, supported with further examples. And then what the manual doesn't say, what it doesn't cover. You've got a sample character sheet there, or watcher sheet. And that's it. That's The Breach, the science fiction role-playing game published by Need Games. That looks quite interesting. I look forward to giving this a proper review in due time. Well, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game, or in this case, a science fiction role-playing game by an Italian publisher, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.